Welcome to Creata classes. This is second lecture under the problems on area and perimeter. Let's begin with the lecture. Let's take our first question, that is, the ratio of the area of a square to that of the square drawn on its diagonal is. 4 choices are given. The answer to this question lies in the visualization of the question. So first of all, we will try to visualize the question. Once we are able to visualize the question, the answer will come automatically. Let's see what I am talking about. This question is talking about two squares. The second square is made from the diagonal of the first square. So first of all, we will draw the first square. This is the square. Let's assume the side of the square as A. All the four sides will be equal to A. We know all the four sides of the square are equal to each other. Let's draw the diagonal to this square. We know all the four angles of a square are 90-degree angle, means this triangle will be a right angle triangle. Two sides of this triangle we know as A. We can find the third side, that is diagonal of this square, by using the Pythagoras theorem. We got diagonal square is equal to A square plus A square. On solving, we got diagonal as A root 2. Moving further, this question is further talking about the second square, and this second square is formed from the diagonal of the first square. This is the first square and this is the diagonal of the first square. We have to form the second square from this diagonal, and we know all the four sides of a square are equal, so we can form a square from this diagonal which is having all the four sides as equal to each other. This is the second square. Here one side of the square is A root 2, so all its four sides will be equal to A root 2. Okay. We got two squares, and in the question we have to calculate the ratio of area of both the squares. And we know the area of the square is A square, that is side square. So the area of the first square will be equal to A square. We have assumed the side of the first square as A, so we got area of the first square as equal to A square. Let's take the second square. Here we know side of this square is A root 2. So area of the second square will be equal to side square, that is A root 2 whole square. That is 2A square. We got area of both the squares. Let's calculate the ratio. We got the ratio of first square to the second square as 1:2. That is the answer of the question. So the fundamental that we have used to solve the question is the property of the square. That is, all the four sides of the square are equal and all the angles of the square are 90-degree angle. Further, we have used the formula of area of the square, that is side square. So based on these properties, we have solved this question. Okay, got it? Let's move to the second question. The question is, a kite in the shape of square with the diagonal 32 cm attached to an equilateral triangle of the base 8 cm. Approximately how much paper has been used to make it? 4 choices are given. Our first step, we will observe and visualize the question. This question is talking about a kite which is formed from a square and an equilateral triangle. We have to calculate how much paper has been used to make this kite. It means that we have to find the total area of the kite. Okay, that will be equal to the total paper that has been used, that is the area of the kite. So basically this kite is formed from a square and an equilateral triangle. Let's see. The question is saying the square, that is the upper part of the kite, has a diagonal of 32 cm. This is a square and this diagonal will be equal to 32 cm. Further, this bottom portion is an equilateral triangle with the base as 8 cm. We know all the three sides of the equilateral triangle are equal, means all these three sides will be equal to 8 cm. Further, let's calculate area of both of these figures, that is square and the equilateral triangle. The area of the square is equal to side square. Let's assume the side of the square as A. So we got the area of this square as a square. We don't know the value of the a, so firstly we will find the value of this a, that is the side of the square, with help of this diagonal, that is 32 centimeter. We know all the four angles of a square are 90-degree angle, means this triangle will be a right angle triangle. This side, that is 32 centimeter, that is diagonal, is the hypotenuse. So we can apply the Pythagoras. We got 32 square is equal to a square plus a square. On solving, we got a as 16 root 2. We got the side of the square, that is all these four sides will be equal to 16 root 2. Now we can easily calculate the area of the square as a square, which will be equal to 16 root 2 square. So we got area of the square as 512 centimeter square. Further, let's calculate the area of this equilateral triangle. We know the formula of the area of the equilateral triangle as root 3 by 4 a square. This is the formula of the area of the equilateral triangle. Here a is the side of the triangle. We know the side of this equilateral triangle as 8 centimeter. Let's put the value. And also we know root 3 is equal to 1.732. Let's solve it. We got the area of this triangle as 27.712 centimeter square. So this is the area of the equilateral triangle. But in the question we have to find the total paper used to form this kite. That is the area of the square plus area of the equilateral triangle. Let's add both the areas. We got the final answer as 539.712 centimeter square. That is the answer of the question. Okay, got it? So the fundamental that we have used to solve this question is, the first fundamental is that the total paper used to form this kite is equal to the total area of the kite. Secondly, we have used the area of the square as side square and area of the triangle as root 3 by 4 a square. Got it? Let's move to the next question. The question is, the length of a rectangular garden is 12 meter and its breadth is 5 meters. Find the length of the diagonal of the square garden having the same area as that of the rectangular garden. 4 choices are given. Okay, first step, we will observe and visualize this question. The question is talking about two gardens. The first garden is a rectangular garden and the second garden is a square garden. The dimension of the rectangular garden is given as 12 meter and 5 meter. And it is also given the area of both of this garden is equal to each other. Further, in the question we have to calculate the diagonal of this square garden. So the approach that we will use is, once we are able to find the side of this square, we can easily find the diagonal of this square by using the Pythagoras. So our approach for this question will be to find the side of this square. The hint to find the side of the square is given in the question, that is area of both of this garden is equal to each other. That is area of this rectangle is equal to area of this square. Firstly, let's assume the side of the square as a. All the four sides of the square will be equal to a. All the sides of the square are equal. Further, area of this rectangle will be equal to length into width. That will be equal to 12 into 5, that is 60 meters square. Further, we know area of the square is side square, that is a square. So we got 60 is equal to a square. So we got a, that is side of the square, is equal to root of 60, that is 2 root 15. We got the side of the square as 2 root 15. Once we got the side of the square, we can easily calculate the diagonal by using the Pythagoras. That is diagonal square is equal to a square plus a square. That is diagonal is equal to a root 2. This expression, that is diagonal is equal to a root 2, is also the formula of the diagonal of a square. This is the relation between the diagonal and the side of the square. This expression you can directly use in solving for the diagonal of the square, or you can use the Pythagoras theorem, whichever is convenient to you. Let's move further. We know a, that is side of the diagonal, is equal to 2 root 15. On putting the value, we got diagonal as 2 root 30. That is the answer of the question. Okay, got it? Let's move to the next question. The question is, A circular wire of diameter 42 cm is folded in the shape of a rectangle whose sides are in the ratio 6:5. Find the area enclosed by the rectangle. 4 choices are given. Our first step, we will observe and visualize this question. This question is talking about a circular wire whose diameter is given as 42 cm. So let's have a circular wire of diameter 42 cm. Further, in the question, this circular wire is folded into the shape of a rectangle. And the ratio of the side of this rectangle is given as 5:6. We have to calculate the area of this rectangle. So this is the question, we have to find the area of this rectangle. So the approach to this question is that, or the hint to this question is that, the length of the wire in the circular form will be equal to length of the wire in the rectangular form. Because the same wire in the circular form has been folded to the rectangular form, means the length of the wire will remain same. Here length of the wire means the circumference of the circle, that is the boundary of the circle, will be equal to the perimeter of the rectangle. Both of this figure will be having the same perimeter. And the perimeter of the circle is the circumference, that is the boundary of the circle. So we got that the circumference of the circle is equal to the perimeter of the rectangle. And we know the circumference of the circle is equal to 2 pi r. And the diameter of the circle is given as 42 cm, that is twice the radius. So on putting the value and taking pi as 22/7, we got the circumference of the circle as 132 cm. We got the circumference of this circle, okay? And this circumference is equal to the perimeter of the rectangle. Let's observe the rectangle. The sides of the rectangle are given as 6:5. Let's assume this side as 6x and this side as 5x, okay? The ratio will be 6:5. And we know the perimeter of a rectangle is twice the length plus width. So we got the perimeter of this rectangle as twice of 6x plus 5x. That is 22x, okay? Further, let's equate the circumference of the circle with the perimeter of the rectangle. On putting the value and solving, we got x as 6. We got the value of x. Let's find the value of the side of the rectangle, that is 5x and 6x. So we got the side of the rectangle as 6 into 6, that is 36 cm, and 5x, that is 5 into 6 as 30 cm. We got the side of this rectangle. And in the question, we have to find the area of this rectangle, that is length into width. So we got the area as 30 into 36, that is 1080 cm square. That is the answer of the question. The fundamental that we have used is the length of the wire in the circular form will be equal to the length of the wire in the rectangular form. And we know the length of the boundary of the figure is the perimeter of the figure. And the perimeter of the circle is the circumference, that is 2 pi r. And the perimeter of the rectangle is twice of the length plus width. So by applying this basic fundamental and the formula of the area of the rectangle, that is length into width, we have solved this question. Okay, got it? Let's move to the next question. The question is, a path of a uniform width runs around the inside of a rectangular field, 38 meter long and 32 meter wide. If the path occupies 600 meters square, then the width of the path is, 4 choices are given. Okay, our first step, we will observe and visualize the question. The question is talking about a uniform path which is running inside a rectangular field. And the dimension of this rectangular field is given as 38 meter and 32 meter. Further in the question, it is given that this path occupies 600 meters square. That is, area of this uniform path is 600 meters square. And we have to calculate the width of this path. Let's approach the question. This question is talking this path is uniform, means the width of this path is uniform, Let's assume the width of this path as x and we have to find the value of x in this question. Further, can we say area of this complete rectangle, that is big rectangle, is equal to area of this uniform path and this smaller rectangle? Okay, we can say this big rectangle is composed of this uniform path and this rectangle. We can say so. And dimension of this big rectangle is given as 38 meter and 32 meter. So, can we calculate area of this big rectangle? We know area of a rectangle is length into width. So we got area of this rectangle as 38 into 32, which is equal to 1216 centimeter square. We got area of this big rectangle. Further, we have assumed the width of this uniform path as x. So can we say this length as 38 minus twice of x? This and this is equal to x, so we can say this dimension is equal to 38 minus 2x. Similarly, we can say this dimension is equal to 32 minus 2x. Okay, we can say so. Moving further, we know length and width of this rectangle. So we can calculate the area of this rectangle as length into width. We got 38 minus 2x into 32 minus 2x as the area of this rectangle. Got it? We got the area of this rectangle. Further, we know area of this path is given as 600 meters square. Let's put all these values in our equation. On putting the value, we got this equation. Let's solve this equation for the value of x. Just applying simple mathematics and simple algebra, on solving we got value of x as 5 and 30. We got two value of x, that is x is equal to 5 and x is equal to 30. Further, the x is equal to 30 is not the valid value. Why? Because the dimension of this rectangular field is given as 38 meter and 32 meter. If we take width of this path as 30 meter, then nothing will remain. So x is equal to 30 is not the valid value. So we got our answer as x is equal to 5. Okay, this is the answer of this question. So let's see the fundamental that we have used to solve this question. The fundamental that we have used is area of this rectangular field is equal to area of this uniform path plus area of this inside rectangle. So based on this fundamental and the basic formula of the rectangle, that is area of the rectangle is equal to length into width, and some basic algebra, we have solved this question. Okay, got it? Let's move to the next question. The question is, two circles touches externally. The sum of their areas is 130 pi square centimeter and the distance between their center is 14 centimeter. The radius of the bigger circle is, 4 choices are given. Let's approach the question. Our first step, we will observe and visualize the question. This question is talking about two circles which are touching externally. Let's take two circles. These two circles are touching externally. And in the question, the distance between the center of these two circles is given as 14 centimeter. Let's assume the radius of this first circle as r1 and radius of the second circle as r2. The distance between the center of both the circle is given as 14 centimeter. Means r1 plus r2 will be equal to 14 centimeter. That is the distance between the center of both the circles. These two circles are touching each other, so there will be no gap between both of the circles. That is r1 plus r2 will be equal to 14 centimeter. There will be no gap between the radius of both of the circles. Okay, got it? Further, it is also given the sum of area of both of the circle is equal to 130 pi. And we know the formula of area of circle as pi r square. So, can we say area of our first circle as pi r1 square? Here radius we have assumed as r1. And for the second circle, we have assumed the radius as r2. So, we got area of the second circle as pi r2 square. So, we got pi r1 square plus pi r2 square is equal to 130 pi. On solving, we got r1 square plus r2 square is equal to 130. If you observe our first equation, that is r1 plus r2 is equal to 14, can we say R2 is equal to 14 minus R1? So let's put the value of R2 as 14 minus R1 in this equation. We got R1 square plus 14 minus R1 whole square is equal to 130. Let's solve this equation. On solving, we got the equation as R1 square minus 14 R1 plus 33 is equal to 0. Further, let's apply some basic algebra. On solving, we got R1 is equal to 3 and R1 is equal to 11. Okay, we got two values of R1. We got the value of R1. Let's put the value of R1 in our equation, that is R1 plus R2 is equal to 14, and let's find the value of R2. On putting the value, we got the value of R2 as 11 and 3. So we got radius of these two circles as 3 cm and 11 cm. And in the question, we have to find the radius of the bigger circle. So we got the radius of the bigger circle as 11 cm. Okay, that is the answer of the question. Got it? So the fundamental that we have used to solve this question is the basic formula of the area of the circle, that is pi r square. Further, we have used the hint that is given in the question, that is these two circles are touching externally. So we can say the distance between their centers will be equal to sum of their radius. As these circles are touching externally, so there will be no gap between these two circles. Got it? So based on these basic fundamentals, we have solved this question. So let's move to the next question. The question is, A took 15 seconds to cross a rectangular field diagonally, walking at the rate of 52 meters per minute. And B took the same time to cross the same field along its side, walking at a rate of 68 meters per minute. The area of the field is, 4 choices are given. First step, we will observe and visualize the question. This question is talking about two persons, A and B. And this question is also talking about a rectangular field. A and B both are crossing this rectangular field. A is crossing this rectangular field along the path of the diagonal, while B is crossing this rectangular field along the boundary of this field. So A is taking this path, that is the diagonal of this rectangle. Further, B is taking this path, that is along the side of this rectangle. And we have to calculate the area of this rectangle. Let's see how we will approach this question. So firstly, let's assume dimension of this rectangle as A and B. Okay, length is A and width is B. Further, we have to calculate the area of this rectangle. Means we have to calculate length into width, that is A into B. So basically we have to calculate the product of A and B, that is AB, that is the area of this rectangle. So let's take the first case, that is A took 15 seconds to cross this rectangular field diagonally, walking at the rate of 52 meters per minute. So A is walking at the rate of 52 meters per minute and A is taking 15 seconds. So firstly 15 seconds is given in second, that is time is given in second. So firstly we will convert this 15 seconds to minute so that we can match this with the speed of the A, that is 52 meters per minute. So 15 seconds will be equal to 15 upon 60 minute. We have simply divided this term by 60 to convert the second to the minute. Further, we know speed is equal to distance upon time. Let's put the value. Here speed is 52 meters per minute and we know the time as 15 upon 60 minute. On putting the value, we got the distance as 13 meters. It means that the diagonal of this rectangle is 13 meters. What we have done, we have simply applied the formula, that is speed is equal to distance upon time. Further, we will use the same principle with the person B. B is taking this path, that is path of the side of the rectangle. Here this distance is equal to A plus B. This is A and this is B. So we got this total distance as A plus B. And B is taking the same time, that is B is taking 15 second time. And speed of B is given as 68 meters per minute. So again we will use the same formula, that is speed is equal to distance upon time. Let's put the value. On solving, we got a plus b is equal to 17 meter. We got a plus b, that is this total distance is equal to 17 meter. Further, in the question it is given as it is a rectangular field, means this angle will be equal to 90-degree angle. So this triangle will be a right angle triangle. Why? Because this angle is a 90-degree angle. This is a right angle triangle, so can we apply the Pythagoras in this triangle? Let's do so. We got 13 square is equal to a square plus b square. Okay, got it. So we got two equations, that is a plus b is equal to 17 and a square plus b square is equal to 13 square. In our first equation, that is a plus b is equal to 17, let's square both sides. We got a plus b whole square is equal to 17 square. We know the formula of a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus twice of ab. Here a square plus b square we have calculated as 13 square. Let's put the value and let's solve it. On solving, we got a into b is equal to 60. And here a into b is the area of this rectangle, that is length into width. We have assumed the dimension of this rectangle as a into b, and we know area of the rectangle is length into width. So we got a into b as the area of this rectangle. And we got a into b as 60 meter square, that is the answer of this question. Okay, got it. So the fundamental that we have used to solve this question is the fundamental of the speed, that is speed is equal to distance upon time. And we have converted the time which is given in second to the minute by dividing it by 60. Further, we have used some basic mathematics and the formula of area of the rectangle, that is length into width, and the Pythagoras theorem. So based on these basic fundamentals, we have solved this question. Got it? So let's move to the next question. The question is, the area of a rhombus is 150 centimeter square. The length of one of its diagonal is 10 centimeter. The length of other diagonal is, 4 choices are given. Our first step, we will observe and visualize this question. This question is talking about a rhombus whose area is given as 150 centimeter square. So let's take a rhombus. One of the diagonal of this rhombus is given as 10 centimeter. And we have to calculate the length of the other diagonal. So first of all, we will recall what is a rhombus. Okay, rhombus is a type of a parallelogram whose all the sides are equal to each other. Are you able to remember? Rhombus is a type of parallelogram and parallelogram is a type of quadrilateral. Quadrilateral is a polygon which is having 4 sides. Are you able to remember quadrilateral, parallelogram and rhombus? We have studied one of the important property of the rhombus, that is diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular bisector of each other. That is, these diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular to each other. Means these angles are 90-degree angle. With the help of this property, we will solve this question. Let's see what I am talking about. So let's approach the question. This is a rhombus and this diagonal is given as 10 centimeter. And area of this rhombus is given as 150 centimeter square. Are you able to visualize these two triangles? Can we calculate area of these two triangles? We know the formula of area of triangle is equal to half into base into height. This diagonal will act as a base for both of these triangles. And for this above triangle, the height of this triangle will be h1. Let's denote this height as h1. And for below triangle, let's denote this height as h2. We got height of both of this triangle. What is the height of the triangle? It is the perpendicular distance from the opposite vertex. This angle is 90 degree, so this is the perpendicular distance. Okay, got it? So for the above triangle, we got area as half into 10 into h1. And for this below triangle, we got area as half into 10 into h2. Let's add area of both of these triangles to get the complete area of the rhombus. So we got area of rhombus is equal to half into 10 into h1 plus half into 10 into h2. and area of the rhombus is given as 150 centimeter square. On putting the value and solving, we got h1 plus h2 is equal to 30. So what is h1 plus h2? For this rhombus, h1 plus h2 is the other diagonal, that is the second diagonal for this rhombus. And this question is asking for the length of the second diagonal. So we got our answer, that is the length of the second diagonal as 30 centimeter. Got it? Before moving further, a small approach to the questions based on rhombus. If we take any random rhombus with the diagonals as d1 and d2, the diagonal we have assumed as d1 and d2, we have divided this rhombus into two triangles. These are the two triangles. We have divided this rhombus into these two triangles. Area of this above triangle is equal to half into base into height. That will be equal to half into d1 into h1. We have assumed h1 as the height of this above triangle. For this below triangle, the area will be half into d1 into h2. On adding area of both of this triangle, we got area of this rhombus as half into d1 into h1 plus half into d1 into h2. Let's take half and d1 as common. We got area of this rhombus is equal to half into d1 into h1 plus h2. Here h1 plus h2 is the second diagonal, that is d2. So we got area of the rhombus is equal to half into d1 into d2. This is one of the formula of the area of the rhombus, but no need to remember this formula. No need to mug up this formula. In different book, you will find a long list of formulas of area and the perimeter. No need to go for that list. Just stick with your basic and try to solve the question based on the basic fundamental. Just stick with the basic fundamental and you will got the answer. Otherwise, you will be confused in the middle of the examination with long list of formulas. We could have directly solved this question with the help of this formula, that is area of the rhombus is equal to half into d1 into d2. But we have used the basic fundamental of the area of the triangle, and the rhombus is divided into two triangles. And the basic property of the rhombus, that is the diagonal of the rhombus are perpendicular bisector of each other. Based on these small basic fundamentals, we have solved this question. We have not gone with this formula of the rhombus. So advice to all of you, just stick with your basic fundamentals. Okay? So let's move to the next question. The question is, sides of a parallelogram are in the ratio 5:4. Its area is 1000 square units. Altitude on the greater side is 20 units. Altitude on the smaller side is, 4 choices are given. Our first step, we will observe and visualize this question. This question is talking about a parallelogram whose sides are in the ratio of 5:4. So let's take a parallelogram and let's assume the side of this parallelogram as 5x and 4x. The ratio will remain 5:4. Further, area of this parallelogram is given as 1000 square units. Further, altitude on the greater side is given as 20 units. 5x is the greater side, so the altitude to the 5x is given as 20 units. And we have to calculate the altitude to the smaller side. Here 4x is the smaller side, so this is the altitude to this side 4x, means we have to calculate length of this altitude. Let's approach the question. We know the area of the parallelogram is base into height. If we assume 5x, that is this side, as the base for this parallelogram, then this distance will be the altitude for this base. So we got area of this parallelogram is equal to 5x into 20. Okay. Further, the area is given as 1000. So let's put the value. On solving, we got the value of x as 10. We got the value of x. Further, let's calculate the side of this parallelogram. 5x will be 5 into 10, that is 50 unit. And the other side will be 4x, that is 4 into 10, that is 40 unit. We have got the sides of this parallelogram. Further, we have to calculate the altitude to the smaller side, that is this distance. We will apply the same formula, that is area of this parallelogram is equal to base into height, that is base into altitude. Here we will consider this side 4x as a base for this parallelogram. So this altitude will be applicable. That is, area of the parallelogram will be equal to 4x into this altitude 2. And we know area as 1000. On putting the value, we got the altitude 2 as 25 unit. So we got our answer as 25 unit. So let's see the fundamental that we have used to solve this question. The basic fundamental that we have used is the area of the parallelogram is equal to base into altitude or base into height. The altitude of the parallelogram will be with respect to the base of the parallelogram. If we take 5x as the base, then this perpendicular distance will be considered as the altitude for this parallelogram. If we have considered the side 4x as the base for this parallelogram, then this distance will be considered as the altitude for this parallelogram. So based on these basic fundamentals, we have solved this question. So let's move to the next question. The question is, the perimeter of a rhombus is 40 centimeter and the measure of an angle is 60 degree. Then the area of it is, 4 choices are given. Our first step, we will observe and visualize this question. This question is talking about a rhombus. So let's take a rhombus. The perimeter of this rhombus is given as 40 centimeter. And we know what is rhombus. Rhombus is a type of parallelogram which is having all the sides as equal to each other. And what is perimeter? Perimeter is the total length of the boundary of the figure. For this rhombus, the perimeter will be the sum of total length of all the sides of this rhombus. If we have assumed the side of the rhombus as A, all the 4 sides will be equal to A. All the sides of a rhombus are equal. So we got perimeter, that is sum of all the sides of the rhombus, will be equal to 4A, which is given as 40 centimeter. So we got 4A is equal to 40 centimeter. So we got 4A is equal to 40. On solving, we got A, that is the side of the rhombus, as 10 centimeter. We have got the side of the rhombus. Moving further, in the question it is given as the measure of an angle is 60 degree. Means one angle of a rhombus is given as 60 degree. Let's take this angle as 60 degree. Now for this rhombus, we know one angle and all the 4 sides of this rhombus. Moving further, are you able to observe this rhombus is divided into these 2 triangles? If we take this triangle out of the figure, are you able to observe the 2 sides of this triangle is given as 10 centimeter? Means this is an isosceles triangle. And we know the angle opposite to equal sides of a triangle are equal. Means these 2 angles will be equal to each other. One angle already given as 60 degree. And we know the sum angle property of the triangle. That is, the sum of 3 angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degree. So we got all the 3 angles of this triangle as 60 degree. Means this is an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle, the triangle which is having all the 3 angles and the 3 sides as equal to each other. The 2 sides of this triangle is already given as 10 centimeter. So we got all the 3 sides of this triangle as 10 centimeter. Moving further, we know area of a equilateral triangle is equal to root 3 by 4 a square. Here a is the side of an equilateral triangle. So let's calculate the area of this equilateral triangle. We know the side A is equal to 10 centimeter. On putting the value, we got area of this equilateral triangle as 25 root 3. So we got area of this equilateral triangle is equal to 25 root 3. Similarly, area of the second triangle will also be equal to 25 root 3. Okay, got it? So we can calculate area of this rhombus by adding area of both of this triangle, which will be equal to 25 root 3 plus 25 root 3, which is equal to 50 root 3. That is the answer of the question. Okay, got it? So let's see the various fundamental that we have used to solve this question. The fundamental that we have used is the property of the rhombus. That is, all the 4 sides of a rhombus are equal. And the definition of a perimeter, that is, perimeter is the total length of the boundary of the figure. Further, we have divided this rhombus into 2 triangles and we have proved this triangle as an equilateral triangle with the help of the sum angle property of the triangle, and angle opposite to equal sides are equal.
So based on these properties, we have proved this triangle as an equilateral triangle, and we know the formula of equilateral triangle is equal to root 3 by 4a square. So based on these basic principles and fundamentals, we have solved this question. Okay, got it? So we have done with this lecture. In the next lecture also, we will take down the questions. So thank you very much for being with Creata classes. Bye for now.